Today we have February's grocery haul. It wasn't much. I racked my brain trying to figure out what I could go buy for groceries, but really we didn't really need anything. So let me show you what we did get, and I will let you know what it cost us for the month of February. So we got some oil. Not sure if I needed oil, but when I got to the store I couldn't remember if we did, so I got some anyways. We got some milk. I only got 2 bags of bread flour. Now I do still have bread flour, but I don't know how much I have, so I got 2 bags. Now this is White Lily bread flour. I've never used it before. I'm hoping it is a good flour, but it's the only kind that they had at the store. So I also got a big bag of all-purpose flour. Now this will probably last me a good 5 months along with what I already have. Also got some margarine. Eddie likes margarine on his toast. In most of my cooking I use actual butter, but Eddie likes this on his toast in the morning. Got Mikey some more dried cranberries. He absolutely loves them, and he's addicted to them right now. Along with some goldfish. I would love to figure out how to make enough of these for him for school snacks, but that would definitely be a job, and I have other things to do. And that's all we have for groceries. And just this right here came to $55.45. So, yep, that stuff is expensive. And then over here, I also purchased the things that I need to make our laundry soap. Now, I always make homemade laundry soap, and I use Zote soap or Fels Naphtha, depending on which one they happen to have at the store at that time. I have some Arm & Hammer washing soda and some borax and a huge box of OxyClean. Now, I'm sure you can look on YouTube and see how this is done, but basically you just shred up your soap and then you add the baking soda, the OxyClean, and the borax to it, mix it all up. And what I have here will last us probably a good 6 to 8 months. Usually I make up enough that it lasts for almost a year. And this right here came to a total of $34.50. So for $35, we have laundry soap for at least 6 to 8 months. So that's that. So our total haul today was $89, about $90. So that's what we spent at the store today. And that will definitely finish us off for February. And in March, of course, we'll have to go back and get more milk. But other than that, I really don't think we need anything, not for a while yet, unless we want to go buy like some fresh tomatoes and lettuce. Problem is, I don't like the taste of store-bought tomatoes. They pick them when they're green so that they'll ripen in the store and they'll be nice and ripe when you get them, and it just ruins the flavor of them. So unless we're having tacos, we don't buy any store-bought tomatoes. But okay, that's what we spent for groceries for February. Let's get on to something else. Good morning, everyone. Today is February 14th, Valentine's Day. I hope everybody had a wonderful day. It also means it's the day to plant potatoes. Now, I'm not ready to plant potatoes. We got, I think, 2 or 3 days of a lot of rain, so we weren't able to till up the spot for the potatoes or put the landscape fabric down. It was really cold, so I didn't get my potatoes cut up. Now, I ordered these potatoes. I wised up from last year. Last year, if any of you guys watched that video, I didn't get my potatoes in the mail until like May. Let's see, February, March, April. It might have been April or May. They were way late though, so we didn't get Our potatoes just didn't make last year. But this year I ordered from Haas. I think it's called Haas Tools. Everybody just calls them Haas. But anyway, so I ordered my seed potatoes from them, and we actually got them probably about 2 weeks ago. So I've had them sitting out in a cardboard box, just letting them get their eyes on them so I would know where to cut them. So I got 3 kinds this year. I only have 2 kinds right here. I'm waiting for Eddie to bring me the other ones. But here we have, okay, well, both these tags say the same thing. These are Kennebec potatoes. They're very large. They have little green sprouts on them, so I'm going to be cutting these up. So these are the Kennebecs, and then these are Red Norlands. I don't think I've tried growing Red Norlands, but the other kind we got was Yukon Gold. Yukon Gold is the one type of potato that we've grown here that did well when we planted it on time. So I'm going to cut these up so that I have some eyes on each piece. Try to get as many as possible. I know a lot of people don't cut them, they just plant the whole potato, but I need as many plants as I can possibly get from each potato. Also, I know people will cut them and then put them in the ground immediately. I want to let these scab over for at least a day, probably 2. If we don't finish the garden today, it'll probably end up being 3 days. But I want them to scab over because we do get a lot of rain here, and I don't want them to rot. I want to give them every chance possible to actually produce. So that's what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut up all of these potatoes into pieces. I'm not super experienced with this, kind of like this potato here. It has an eye on the top, but it also has some other eyes, but they're all sort of around this same end. And if I flip it over, there's no eyes on the bottom. So should I plant the whole potato, or should I try, you know, some people make little tiny pieces, but like I said, I want to give these potatoes every possible chance of growing and doing well. So I'm not going to cut into little tiny pieces. If, like these potatoes, they're already pretty small, and there's only one eye anyway, so that's going to get planted by itself. I think most of these little ones, they're also starting to get soft. But yeah, these small ones, they only have one eye anyway, so they're gonna get put in by themselves. But that's what I'm gonna do for the next little bit here, is I'm just gonna start cutting these into as many pieces as possible. Try to get as many potato plants as possible to get as many potatoes as possible, right? So I think what I want to do. So then once I cut them, I'm just going to leave the cut side up and let it get some air so that it can scab over. And this one's got a whole bunch of eyes, so I'm just going to go ahead and hope that those eyes grow. Like this one's got 2 eyes on it there. And then this one's got 1, 2, got 3 eyes on this one. So that's what I'm gonna do. And hopefully we get a whole bunch of potatoes to plant out of this. So I know it's not anywhere near what people do. I mean, they would have this whole table filled, but it's more than what we had last year. And like I said, this isn't all of it yet. These are the Red Norlands, and these are the Kennebecs. Now this is all of the Kennebecs, so I'm going to set these in a cardboard box or something so that I can get them off the table, out of the way, and get them curing. And I'm going to grab the other potatoes and cut those up. Now I forgot to tell you, these are Minnesota certified seed potatoes. And it might just be me. You guys are going to have to let me know. But I almost feel like I kind of wasted a little bit of money this year. And let me show you why. These Yukon Golds are massive. So when you buy seed potatoes, you're buying by the pound. These potatoes are huge. But all of the eyes are right here on this end. So all the eyes are right here. So this whole potato on this end, there are no eyes. So I paid for this potato, which it's a pretty big potato. And I'm only gonna get maybe one plant out of this. Maybe two. I mean, because the eyes are so close together that I can't really separate them. I might be able to cut it here so that I have one eye right here and then I have all these eyes. And this isn't the only one. Look at this massive potato. And again, well, this one's better because we have a bunch of eyes right here, but there's also a few on the other end. So there's one here and there's one here. I could probably separate those two out. There's one on the back side. But it just seems, okay, here's another one. Okay, so we have an eye here and we have a little grouping of eyes here, but there's nothing on the other end. So I could cut this in the middle and get two, but that's a big potato. That's a lot of weight that I paid for to only get two plants out of it. And these potatoes are massive. I mean, it would be a lot different if the whole potato was covered in eyes and I could get a bunch of plants off of this one. But I think for my money's worth, I think these red Norlands, I mean, because they're smaller, so you're getting more potatoes per pound. Or, you know, I think I bought 5 pounds. So 5 pounds of red Norlands gives me more because they're smaller than 5 pounds of the Yukon Gold. And each one of these potatoes is going to give me, you know, a minimum of one because a lot of these are tiny. And I guess, you know, some people say that the smaller potato you plant, the smaller potato you get. So I don't know. But even the bigger ones has a lot more eyes and they seem to be spread out more over the whole potato. So this one, we've got a bunch of eyes here, but we have one here, here, here. There's one here. There's really none down the other end, but there's some small ones popping out all the way around. So I think for the money, I think I would definitely go with the red Norlands. I think next year, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see how the red Norlands grow, if they survive and if they produce. If they do, I think I will grow more red Norlands next year than I will of the Yukon Golds. I love Yukon Gold potatoes. I love the taste of them. But they're just so big with so few eyes that I feel like it's sort of a waste of money. I need more plants out of my potatoes than what these are going to give me. Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, February 16th. And today we're going to put the potatoes in the ground, but I wanted to show you what Eddie and I worked on yesterday. We didn't record it just because. But yesterday we made pasta. So it's just going to sit here, and it was drying all day yesterday, and it's dry. But we're going to leave it to dry for another whole day. And once that's all dry, we will bag it up, put it in the pantry, and we're good for pasta for a little bit. We have this table full of pasta, and underneath this table there's also another table full of pasta. I stacked the tables because we don't have a whole lot of room in here. That is one major downfall of making pasta, is in order to make enough pasta to last, you know, 6 months, so I only have to do it twice a year. I need a lot of room to lay it out and let it dry, and we don't have that much room. So this will last for a couple months anyway, and then I'll make some more. But today we're gonna go put the potatoes in the ground. All right, we brought our potatoes up. We've got a torch to melt some holes in the landscape fabric. Now this is the landscape fabric that I got this year, and I thought I was getting the same stuff as this, but this actually has some actual fabric on it. It's got plastic in there, but it also has fabric. So we're going to cut holes in this one we'll melt holes in this one. This is just plastic. Not real happy about melting holes because sometimes the holes spread a lot bigger than you want them to. But I do know that if we try to cut it, it's just going to unravel. So that's what we're going to do. Now this year we did not hill the rows for the potatoes like we did last year, because the potatoes that we grew in the raised beds, those were not hilled, and they grew a lot better than this whole plot right there. You can't see it because it's covered in weeds, but that whole plot of potatoes did terrible. They were raised, they were in hills, and I think that's because the ground just does not hold enough water. So being up in the hill, all the water's leaving and the potatoes aren't getting any of it because the water's leaving faster than they can get it. At least I'm hoping that's why. Hopefully this year it works out. We're not hilling it. We're going to plant them right in the ground. This has been tilled as deep as we can till it, which is probably 4 or 5 inches. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed this is going to work better than last year. If not, next year we'll try something different. So Eddie's going to melt the holes and I will come in behind him and plant. I don't know how many rows it's going to take to plant what we have, but let's go ahead and get started. Now it's got to be a pretty big hole there because this is potatoes. Okay, so that was the Kennebec potatoes, and they took the whole row. Didn't realize we had that many. And I have this many left here. What I think I'm going to do is, instead of putting all my eggs in one basket, what I'm going to do is take the leftover ones that didn't fit in that row and put them in the garden somewhere. That way, if things don't grow here, maybe they'll grow over there. But I hate to have all of something in one spot, just in case. So, you know, it takes a lot of years to work your ground, get it really fertile, really loose, all those things. So our ground isn't that great yet. So next row, we're gonna put in the red Norlands. And I don't think we have as many of those. We might have, don't know. But we're going to put the red Norlands in the middle, and that way they're separated. We'll have white potatoes, red potatoes, white potatoes. So here's the red Norlands. Well, yeah, there's probably just as many, if not more of those. So those are going to go in the center row that Eddie's cutting now. And then we have the Yukon Gold, and we don't have as many Yukon Golds as we did everything else. Because just like this whole potato, it just has the eyes on one end. So yeah, like I was saying when I was cutting them up, I definitely don't think it's as cost efficient as the red Norlands or even the Kennebecs. So you watched me plant a whole row of potatoes. I'm gonna get the rest of them done, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about what we had left over, if anything, and try to decide where to put them, I guess. We got 3 rows of potatoes planted. So we've got the Kennebecs, then the red Norland, and then the Yukon Gold. This is what we have left from the red Norland, and that's what we have left from the Kennebecs. The Yukon Gold went all the way down with 2 holes left over, and I put some red Norlands in those holes. So I think what I'm gonna do with these leftovers, because we don't have any of the garden ready yet, except for the bed that we put the peas in, and I was watering this morning, so it's very wet. But let me show you here. So I put peas over here just one line all the way down, and that actually took almost 3 full packets of peas. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant those potatoes along this side. I was wondering what I was going to plant on this side of the bed with the peas. We'll put a fence in for the peas as soon as we figure out how. But I was wondering what I could put in here with them, and I think we'll put those potatoes in. Now it still might be too many potatoes for this, so if I have more, then I don't know what to do with them. Actually, I think if we have more than what will fit in that bed, I have the hoop house down by the kitchen that has the shade cloth over it, and I'm turning that into my spice garden or my herb garden. I've got oregano and chives, rosemary, thyme. I got a bunch of herbs down there. So I think if we have too many potatoes to put in this bed, then I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of them into that, and that way I definitely have potatoes in 3 different areas, and maybe we'll get something. I'm really hoping that these potatoes grow and produce really well, because that was a lot of potatoes and a lot of work. And I'm wearing these gloves because I ripped the palm of my hand open using the little hand shovel. But yeah, if those produce, that's a lot of potatoes. And we did lose a bunch of onions in here. I don't know what happened, but yeah, they're gone. But looks like all of the garlic is growing, so that's good. We don't actually use that many onions anyway. It would be nice if they would all grow so I could make onion powder, which I do make onion powder, but then we run out of fresh eating onions. So I want to be able to cut up some onions, put them in the freezer, use a bunch of onions for onion powder, but yeah, I don't think we're going to get that many this year. Now I did harvest all of the broccoli. The plants are still in here. Well, I didn't harvest all of it because there's a couple of really small heads, but the plants are still here because they put on these small side heads. So I'm going to leave them. There's some small heads right there, that one and that one. But I'm going to leave these in for, oh, I don't know, probably another month. I don't know if I'm going to plant something in its place or just pull it out and let the weeds grow in the holes. I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. I was thinking about pulling some of them out and putting in some cabbage, but I'm going to have to direct seed the cabbage, I think, because I didn't start any, unless I start it now. It does say to direct sow it after your last frost, and our last frost is March 21st, so we still have a month. So I might start some cabbage seeds, and that way I'm not putting seeds in the ground that I don't know if they're going to germinate. I'd rather have the seedling. That way I know it's going to grow, or it has a chance to grow. So, well, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for joining us.